I have an enormous amount of sprouting seeds that I got stored away in the cold and the dark. This is like a little over a pound of alfalfa sprout seeds. They're tiny little suckers. Man, I've sprouted these a lot. Do you have any idea how many people you could feed with just this 1 pound package? A lot. Only thing you need to do is add water. Now to green them out, you actually, the last day on alfalfa sprout seeds, you stick them in the sunlight. But you don't have to eat them. I mean, they're technically done. They don't get any bigger after the 6th or 7th day, depending on the temperature. It may take 7 to 8 days, but basically a week. All you have to do is add water. I love sprouting seeds. I love sticking those on my salad. I haven't had a good salad in a long time. I don't trust that stuff you actually get in the grocery store. I wanted to talk about ancient Pythagorean secret, and it requires having a primer of understanding, and of course I've talked about the primers of understanding, the metaphysics of Pythagorean monism. And there's no distinction between Pythagorean monism, Platonic, Neo-Pythagorean, Neoplatonic, excuse me, yeah, Pythagorean, Neo-Pythagorean, Platonic, and Neoplatonic, excuse me, there we go. I'll edit that out. Specifically the 108, 36, 36 degree triangle, which I'll grab my little old Little House on the Prairie chalkboard here. It's this specific triangle. Yeah, 108, 36, 36. I actually make wallets out of that. This little section is made out of alligator. I embed this in the outside of the wallet, so this is one for making that. People always ask me what that's actually sitting there. And it's the only perfect incommensurable geometry in the entire universe. The only one. 5 to the power of -3, which equals 1. Yep, and the little angles down here, interestingly enough, are 36, 36, and up here at the top, 108. Yeah, I don't want to try to keep this thing simple without confusing people. 9 is limit, by the way. So far as the metaphysics, there's a neat little book that's a copy of a copy that goes all the way back to Iamblichus, and probably before Iamblichus. It's called the Theology of Arithmetic. You can actually buy it. It's actually how the Pythagoreans and the Platonists ideated the numbers. And there was a second one within the series, and the second one's the isosceles. Same reason why there's a second one in the Fibonacci sequence. Yeah, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5. The first 2 digits are 1 and 1, and they're not different ones. They're the same ones. They're the principle and attribute of the agathon, or the absolute. But 9 is limit. 9 is, I'm going to quote from this ancient text, 9, or the Ennead, is unsurpassable limit. 10 is equal to the 1. When you actually arrive at 10, things are absolutely completed. So when you're talking 10, you're talking about a return to the 1, i.e. perfection, transcendence. Full circle. When you're full circle, you're also 2, logically and necessitatively so, back at the starting point. So 10 is not something greater than 9 as far as the metaphysics of numbers as the Pythagoreans ideated it, because they actually saw the geometry in nature. The greatest of numbers was between the second 1, i.e. the eudistos, and 9. 10, of course, is completion. There's also, too, a secret, even though it's in Plato's Republic. You take a line, yeah, right here, and you divide it unevenly. There we go. You divide the line unevenly. There we go. And you take each one of those sections, and you divide each one of those sections unevenly again, which we've done here. Interestingly enough, you arrive with sections with the proportionality of phi, 1, 1, and 1 over phi. Phi, of course, 1.618. 1 is 1, of course. 1 over phi is 0.618. And also, too, those are the 4 sections on the same perfect Pythagorean triangle. It's like, well, where's the 4th section? We actually have the top of this isosceles triangle of 1 and 1, and the base of phi, and the third, 1 over phi, is the incommensurable cut, which actually gives holographic perfection and incommensurability to this, which is right here, 1 over phi. So this also, too, is the perfection of what constitutes the geometry of water. Actually, go over here, the geometry of water. Absolute beauty of life, of incommensurability, the euristostaios, of proportionality, and also, too, of totality, since this specifically is the geometric trinity of the Enneads. Let's actually redraw that and make it actually simple since I have all these numbers here. That specific triangle, too, in triplicate, makes up the Pythagorean pentagram. But the number here at the top, the apex is 108, down here is 36 and 36, 3 and 6 is 9, and 108 added up is 9. These are the Enneads. So what this actually is the absolute limit of totality. At 9 there is totality because 10 is a return to the 1. The Ennead is the limit of, as in the Iamblichus text of the Theology of Arithmetic, the unsurpassable limit. In other words, the max, meaning including everything, the cosmos nuitos and the cosmos latitos, of absolutely everything. Of course, the divided line, once I said, is once again is 1, 1, phi and 1 over phi, which actually makes up a specific trinity. This is probably where the Christians actually got the trinity. Phi cubed, which equals 4.23606. And you probably can't see that. You actually take these 4 sections of the divided line, you add them up, and it actually adds up to phi cubed, or 4.23606. But this is the only, the Pythagoreans knew this. This is the reason why it was the symbol of their group of those that understood arithmetic, and arithmetic is not to be confused with mathematics. Containing the totality, hello, can't talk. Shouldn't have eaten that banana before making this video. Makes the roof of your mouth sticky when you eat a nice banana, nice sweet banana. The totality of absolutely everything, the basis of life, because without water there is no life. This is also, too, if I actually eliminate out the base, the dipole antenna of life. This is the dipole antenna of life. That's specific geometry. All I have to do down here and down here is include a hydrogen molecule, and right up here at the top include an oxygen molecule. And here we have the dipole antenna of life, i.e. the manifestation of consciousness, i.e. the geometry of life. This is, I don't know if you know what a dipole antenna is. You actually take a piece of wire with a specific harmonic length relative to the midsection of HF frequencies. You suspend it from the middle as high as you can get off the ground. You tie each base off, so you actually have a dipole antenna. Of course, that's what the specific geometry is also, too, representative of manifestation of life in the consubstantiality of matter, which, of course, is life. Matter and spirit and the consubstantiality thereof as only exists. In other words, how do you join two things? And this is a passage, an ancient passage of Pythagoras, the Chaldean oracles of Iamblichus, and others. How do you join two things in perfection? A third thing is required. That third thing is this perfect incommensurable geometry, which is also, too, the geometry of water. Now, the Pythagorean pentagram, of course, has been co-opted by occultists and New Age movement, yada yada. And, you know, I should say the crystal rubbers. They stick it on flags, and it's kind of been besmeared, as somehow being associated with, black magic. Just the connotations are really, really heavy. But it is extremely ancient, long before the New Agers and the occultists and, these people that hijacked it from the Theosophical Society and whatnot. This was the incommensurable geometry of perfection, because it represented life, water, beauty, incommensurability, proportionality, and totality, since it was a henad. The henad, of course, of both of these is the apex 108 degrees, 36 degrees, and 36 degrees. The only way you can actually combine the perfect geometry to create the only incommensurable perfection of geometry is a specific isosceles triangle with the top apex of 108 degrees and a base of 36, and the other base also, too, of 36. Isosceles, of course, the two base angles are the same, obviously. So the 108, 36, 36 degree triangle necessitatively, and there's that interesting word that the Greeks is almost as untranslatable as the word logos, necessitatively. The only way you can combine those three angles, which are each an Ennead, 108 equals 9, 36 equals 9, is in a triangle whose sloping apices are 1 and 1, and whose base is the golden ratio. That's what people call, they talk about sacred geometry, the golden ratio. Say, what do those things mean? You say golden ratio and sacred. Well, I don't know. I just like the beauty in nature. That's the only way you can actually combine those two, is in this specific isosceles triangle. And when you make an incommensurable cut, this triangle then becomes the mirror of this. So you actually have holographic perfection, or we have a perfect incommensurability of 1, 1. Phi is the base, but then each base becomes 1 and 1 over phi, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on and on again, like a Mandelbrot set fractal. And there is no geometry in the universe that has absolute 100% totality of perfection. But this Ennead is limit to actually understand the metaphysics of the Pythagoreans and of the Neoplatonic, Neo-Pythagorean, Neo-Platonists. But they're all one and the same thing, by the way. These are just silly words we actually ascribe later to these people. They all believe the exact same thing. The only way you can actually have this perfect geometry is in that specific isosceles triangle, and each angle represents the Ennead, the absolute limit. So in other words, this isosceles triangle, since each angle is 36, 36, and 108, encompasses the Ennead, and the Ennead is the absolute limit from the metaphysics or arithmetic of the Pythagoreans and the Neoplatonists. Not 10, because 10 is a rival back at 1. So 10 and 1 are the same thing, and you actually can read that in the Theology of Arithmetic. You could find probably a download of it somewhere. But it's a simple little book translated by Whitfield and goes all the way back to Iamblichus and probably before him as to the secrets that the Pythagoreans understood. And by the way, the only secret the Pythagoreans had for which one person was offed or done away with was revealing the secrets of incommensurability. It's far less a secret than the acuity of mind and having a metaphysical primer in one's head to understand what is being said. Somebody that has never studied Pythagoreanism, incommensurability, what is crudely called the golden ratio, so on and so forth. They just think talk like this is esoteric out there in the clouds, almost alien. They can't make heads or tails of it. But considering. And nobody ever takes count of this, the people that poo-poo this, it's just ridiculous. It's like, you do realize everything that is beautiful and harmonic in nature follows this specific geometry. It's also, too, the geometry of water, necessary for life, of incommensurability, the only perfect proportionality. Everything which you call the golden ratio or sacred geometry, the only place where absolute perfection of same exists is in that specific isosceles triangle, which in triplicate makes up, something everybody's seen, but has been completely, ruined, shall we say, by the New Agers, and that is this. This is where the real Trinity comes from, because you just have 3 of these specific isosceles triangles overlapping one another. And it's right there. That's that exact same triangle in triplicate. This is where the original Trinity comes from. Yeah? The divided line section, by the way, is in Plato's Republic 509d to 511. So again, you take a line, you divide it unevenly. Each one of those sections you divide it unevenly. And you end up with phi, 1, 1, and 1 over phi. And each one of those sections is also, too, encapsulated within that exact same triangle. 1, 1, base of phi, and incommensurable cut of 1 over phi. Also, too, importantly, without coincidence, 1 over phi to the power of -3, which is the basis of these cuts, equals phi cubed. 1 over phi to the power of -3, i.e. the 1 is against itself, or to the attribute as against the 1, but not against the 1, but the extrinsic attribute against the 1, because this 1 over here is the agathon. The top 1 of 1 over phi to the power of -3, and phi to the power of -3 is the aoristos dias. Principle over attribute. The division of same, which is indivisible, excuse me, I said undividable. Indivisible, too much caffeine today. Indivisible is the expression of the 1 as against itself, given its extrinsic attribute, which is the Pythagorean trinity, which is phi cubed. And phi cubed makes up phi, 1, 1, 1 over phi. And also, too, this geometry, which is the basis of life, water, beauty, proportionality, sacred geometry, golden ratio, everything that's beautiful and perfect in nature. Life, consciousness, doesn't that really encapsulate everything that we hold dear and that which we are? Life, water, beauty, what is sacred, divine, and perfect, and which exists in perfect proportionality and harmony in nature, both seen and unseen. That kind of encompasses everything. That is also, too, the same reason why the apices of the specific triangle, once again, are 108, 36, and 36. 3 and 6 are 9, and 1, 0, and 8 are 9. And that is the Ennead, which is the limit between 1 and 10. As the ancient Pythagorean said, 9 is the unsurpassable limit, the greatest of numbers between 1 and 10, because 10 is not a number, it's just coming full circle again. Completion. 10, of course, is completion, or also 2 equal to 1, or the agathon, or you could technically say 1 and the Euristos Dias, the second number in the Fibonacci sequence. So if you can actually understand this and wrap your brain around it, you can understand almost everything within Pythagorean monistic metaphysics. I hope you can. I tried to keep this really simple, honestly. I'm sure someone will say, oh my God, this is way over my head. You made my, you bent my brain. Well, that wasn't my intent at all. But this is the secret of 108, 36, 36 in that specific geometry, which is the only perfect geometry in the universe. That's not my opinion. Well, that's your opinion. No, it's not my opinion. It's a fact. That is the only geometry which encompasses life, perfection, beauty, harmony, proportionality, water, life, consciousness. It's the only one. And without question and without coincidence, its apices are 1 and 1, its base is phi, and the incommensurable cut is 1 over phi. And it goes on and on again, subdividing it, exactly like a Mandelbrot set, or, a fractal Mandelbrot, except with perfection of beauty. So I hope I kept this simple. My hands are covered in chalk dust. And on that, I will end this video. Lux e veritas. If you have any questions, my contact information is in the description below. If you can wrap your brain around this, then you can begin to understand Pythagoras, can't talk, shouldn't have had a banana before this. Pythagoras, Chaldean oracles, Plato, Plotinus, Numenius, Iamblichus, Syrianus, Damasius, Proclus. You really can. And without this, you can't understand any of them. You can partially, but not really. Thanks. Goodbye.